I'll have roll call. All are present with the exception of Mr. Restucci and Mr. Hicks, who have both contacted me reference being absent this evening. So is there any objection to giving them excused absence? Without objection, we'll give them excused absence. Ooh. I'm not coming across on your, I was listening to, I'll tell you about that. So roll call. We're all present with the exception of Jim Restucci and Mr. Hicks, who have both contacted me with saying that they wouldn't be here tonight. So without objection, we will give them excused absence. Okay. And as we don't have a pastor here this evening for invocation, we'll go straight to the Pledge of Allegiance. Will you please stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. At this time, before we start the agenda, I'd like to request that we amend the agenda to include item 31, Washington Teamsters Trust Fund, as added on 3I, 3-I, as added on as of today. Is there any objection to adding that? Seeing none, without objection, we'll add that to our agenda this evening. At this point, we will have unscheduled appearances by citizens. They're advised to limit their remarks to 3 minutes, and these items presented will be referred to council to staff for review or additional information for presentation at future council meetings. Is there anyone here who would like to make any kind of unscheduled appearance?
David Rand, Sunnyside. Yeah, I just want to thank whoever was in charge of the beer thing this weekend, because last year I brought up that they took this little forklift and made all these things, and I seen this year they put up these really nice tents and made it really look presentable. So when people came into the community, they see our events and they see that they're really nice. And I really think that really made a big difference, and it really looked nice. I didn't get to go to it because we were at a wedding, so that was more important. But it was pretty nice to, when I drove through town both Saturday and Sunday morning, to see that it was set up a lot better this year than it was last year. So hopefully it just kind of keeps growing with that better looking scene each year. So since I did bring that up last year, I thought I'd better come back and say something really nice about this year.
Thank you. Are there any other unscheduled? Would you like? This would be the time to. I don't believe is he on the schedule? I might have forgot to get you on the schedule, but would you like to speak?
Sure.
Go ahead. Come on up, sir.
All right.
That was on me.
All right. Yeah, I knew. I called you and told you I was coming. Okay.
Yeah, you did.
Hi. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Norm Childress, and I am the mayor of the city of Grandview. I'm also a candidate for Yakima County Commissioner. I just want to talk to you a little bit about that. I'm not here representing Grandview, I'm here representing Norm Childress and the race for Yakima County Commissioner. And if I could, I got a couple little handouts for you that you can look at your leisure, and if there's any left, if you give them back, they're expensive. So. First of all, I'd like to share some things about me that maybe you don't know. The Yakima County Commissioners, I'm in District 3, Sunnyside's a city in District 3, but I've been elected in Grandview for 26 years. 26 years is a long time. Serving my 14th year as mayor. I'm retired from Benton County, which is in Prosser. I reported to the courthouse for 37 years. I worked for the Benton County Public Works Department as a transportation engineer. Enjoyed it thoroughly, worked with many county commissioners. Reported to them, worked on the county budget for over 35 years, so I'm familiar with county budgets. I'm very familiar with county road systems and how to make them safer, farm to market reports I worked on for many, many years. And I was glad to see that maybe there's a couple of people in the room that are over 50 years old, because I was going to use some references. You know, originally I'm a Sunnyside guy. I grew up in Outlook. I went to Sunnyside High School till my sophomore year. My dad was an auto mechanic, and there was a time service station in town. He operated that for a while and was an auto mechanic. My mom was a cook. She cooked at the Hills Broiler and the Townhouse Cafe, if any of you can remember the Hills Broiler and Townhouse Cafe, and also the Dairy Queen. You know, in the 60s, my mom would bring me to town and drop me off at the swimming pool, my brother and I, and give us a dime. And we'd swim at that swimming pool in Sunnyside all day, and then go over to Dairy Queen at the end and take our 10 cents and get our dilly bar and go home. Okay, 1 minute. So what I think is important to know about me is I'm a Yakima Valley guy. I was born in Yakima. I love this county. I've had a great life. I love the ag business. The farmers have been good. My wife's a Sunnyside girl. Her family farmed in Sunnyside. And it's important that we get representation in the valley. I have a common sense approach to government. I know how to get things done. If you see what's going on in Grandview, we have a great community. I love Grandview. I like Sunnyside. I think we get a lot of bad press in the lower valley, and I would like to change that. And I would like to represent you as the Yakima County Commissioner. Please take this, go to my website. I'd invite you to contact me individually. You get a group of people together, I'd be glad to talk to them. And I think I can represent you well. Thank you for listening to me. If you got questions, all my contact information is there. Please contact me.
Thank you.
Any questions? 5 seconds, 20 seconds? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Norm. Are there any other unscheduled citizens appearances by citizens? No? All right, moving on. So we have next on our agenda is our consent agenda. Is there anything that anyone wants to have removed from the agenda or for discussion?
I just have a question on a claim voucher that I found on item 2B2. It's going to be on page 6, check number 94-248. It is for Mountain States Construction Company in the amount of $28,373.54. And it lists as water repair. I'm just kind of curious which repair that we're talking about on that one.
May I?
Yes.
That was a water repair out at the airport. That was part of the airport project. We got to digging around out there doing the runway taxiway project. We found a pipe we needed to replace.
That wasn't the irrigation line, was it?
What's that?
That wasn't the irrigation line that we had to replace. That was something else?
It was, but that was all kind of part of the water system we felt at the airport. So yeah, we had Mountain States come in and repair that. But initially we thought we'd do it ourselves, but it was quite a bit more involved than our guys were capable of doing. Plus, we're very, very busy. Mm-hmm. So we went ahead and awarded the contract to Mountain States, went after our Small Works roster, and they completed the work for us.
Okay. Thank you.
You bet.
Are there any other items on the consent agenda anyone would wish to speak about this time? Then without objection, need a motion. We need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll move to approve.
Pardon?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Is there any debate? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's all yes. Okay, active agenda. We have the CGI Communications, Inc. to consider authorizing city manager to execute agreement with CGI Communications to provide an advertising service using high-quality video to highlight the community and businesses. Mr. City Manager, would you care to?
Madam Mayor,
Yes,
ladies
yes.
and gentlemen, I'm going to have the city clerk pull up a little video of this. As I've told you in the past, this company approached us, and what they do is they produce marketing videos for communities throughout the country and organizations like ports and various other things. And they don't charge us for it. What they do is they come in and they sell advertisements, okay, for this production. And what they're willing to do, and again, this is in your packet, but they'll produce 4 videos. You put these on your website. You put these on, and again, we have cometothesun.com and then the city's official website. And so I'd like you to just show you one of their the videos, and you can see what yourself, and then just let me know if you think this is a good idea. Should we go ahead and do this? If so, then I'll need an action on you to authorize me to sign a contract to have them to come in. If you don't, then we just notify them that we just don't want to do it. So, but their plan is to market your city for you for tourism and economic development, recruiting doctors and teachers and various other professionals to your community. So, can you go ahead and start that over? I think I don't know if we have volume or not on this one. So. No volume. Okay. These will come with volume to be put on your internet.
You can promise that, right?
Yes, I can promise you that. I've actually watched them myself, and they do some major cities, they do some small cities, and again, it's free of charge to the city.
Now, what they do is they sell advertising to various businesses in the community?
Correct. What
To
they'll
support
do
this?
is we would put a letter of introduction to them on our letterhead, the city manager's letterhead, and they would use that to contact local businesses, Ford dealerships, Chrysler dealerships, that sort of stuff, farm and ranch houses, Walmart, whoever, and try to get them to advertise on their website as well as in the video, and actually help pay for the video.
It looks like they also are interviewing various business people within the community
Yes.
as they go along, residents and
various
so
other-
forth.
yeah, that's right. And they highlight the benefits of living and visiting the community.
And they only use the attractive people. Okay.
They're not going to be interviewing me. So.
Okay. It's not what I meant.
I'm actually familiar with this group. A lot of the Art Institute students I went with for video production
Okay.
went to work with them. So
Wouldn't really-
I think it's a great idea. I would like to move to approve them coming in.
Okay. So I believe we have a motion on the floor to approve by John Henry. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Dean seconds. Is there any debate?
Just want to make sure I understand all of this correctly as I've looked at it. So there's no charge to the city whatsoever. This organization comes and puts together a video highlighting all the benefits of living in Sunnyside and the surrounding area. Apparently interviews business owners, residents, and that sort of thing. And then they sell advertising.
That is correct.
And their goal is to sell advertising to local businesses, or is
That
this
is
like?
correct. Well, I didn't ask specifically, but that was the inclination I got. It was local businesses to help them market their businesses as well, not nationwide, but they could go out to somebody that has a presence, like Chevrolet, perhaps. I don't know for sure, or State Farm. Okay. So I'm not sure.
And this will be attached to our city website. Will this be attached anywhere else, or is it just going to be on the City of Sunnyside website?
Anybody who advertises would be allowed to use it as well. Okay, and we would put it out on our website, any website that we own, which is the cometothesun.com and the city's main website, and we'll just put links to it and various things like that.
Can we link it somehow to like the Yakima Valley Tourism?
I believe so.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Any other debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. So go ahead and let's put together the agreement and see how many hits we get.
Okay.
All right. Item B on our agenda is then the, Roger Brooks Retail Development Assessment. This is the one regarding our local businesses for our downtown core retail area. And I believe we've had some discussion on it, but this is a gentleman that you've talked to before, so Mr. Day, if you would.
Madam Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, this again started with our desire to improve the downtown core, and we had some discussions on that. I believe it's still on the status report, and so you directed me to look at for see if we could find somebody that does consulting in this area. And I went down to Las Vegas. I searched all around, and it brought me right back here to the Roger Brooks. And he is out of Washington. And so I contacted them, and they said they definitely would be willing to help us, and this is exactly what they do. And Mr. Brooks has been around for a long time, and we've got his credentials, and he's willing to come to it. And what he's recommending is a destination assessment program. And what that entitles, I think we have a video of that too, did we not?
It's a slideshow.
Oh, okay, I thought there was actually a video. So what they'll do is they will come into town, and they're recommending you do the entire town, not just the downtown core, but you could focus on the downtown core and then have them go around. And what they do is they look at they do what they call secret shopper. Oh, there he is. I thought I'd seen that. Well, I guess we don't have no video or audio. There's no audio. There's no speakers. That's our problem. Okay, so what he'll do is the process starts with them coming in and doing secret shopping for 1 week. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Is this Roger?
This is Mr. Rudd.
Cut
Yes.
to the chase and tell us what we should are far more than just logos and slogans. Have you ever gone anywhere because they had a great logo, or have you avoided a place because you thought their logo was lousy? Number two is that all successful brands are built on product, not marketing. In chronological order. That is a plan that people can follow. With that out of the way, we have perfected the branding process. It took us a lot of years, and after working in more than 1,500 communities, we finally found a process that has seen a 100% success rate. And the way it starts is, number one, we come in and do an assessment. That gets us familiar with your community on the ground, and that is your baseline to start from. It's a look at your community from the eyes of a visitor, an investor, anybody that you're hoping to attract, new resident. Then the second part of it is asking the public, what is it we want to be known for? And how does it differentiate us from everyone else? But out of all those ideas we hear from the locals, we have to figure out which one is most feasible. And we do this working with a brand development team in your community. That is where we come and actually spend a week in your community with our graphic design professionals, our research professionals, because we believe that we should design the look and feel, the message in your brand with you, not somewhere else and then mail it in or email it to you. This is about building it with you from step 1 to step 13. And it's fun, because we meet with your brand development team the beginning of each day and the end of each day as we work through product development, as we work through the look and feel of the brand, as we work through the marketing of it. And it is really, really a cool process. I mean, there's just nothing like it, because you're changing the future of your community for generations. And then the last element in this whole thing is selling it. As a matter of fact, we close that week by doing an hour and 15-minute presentation to help sell the brand to the community. You never ask for permission. Hey, is everybody okay with this? Because brands are about having a narrow focus, not being all things to all people. One thing that is really, really fantastic about this program is that it comes from you. You know, what happens when the team you hired, they go home and there's nobody there to sell it? This way, you're at the table through the whole process, and there's ownership within the community. It wasn't somebody else telling us what we should be known for. And so it is an exceptional process, and for every single city and town, you need to define what sets you apart from everyone else. That is the essence of a brand, and it has to be more than skinny. It has to be more than just marketing. And so that is what's really incredible about this program. So we can't wait to get started and help you develop a winning brand that is going to put you on the map as the destination of choice for investment, as a place to live, raise a family, retire, and to visit. Talk to you soon.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
If I may. So the process then, as he says, is they come in here, they do this secret shopping, they spend some time in the community, they go through the stores, and they'll literally just go into stores and try to buy products and spend money in town. They'll go to our restaurants. They will visit for a week. They will then do the assessment. They contact other business people and community members, okay, to ask them just on the street, what do you think this community should do? What do you think this community is? Then they'll come up and then they want you to develop a team, the community. And what you're going to have to do is it's going to be some of you, perhaps all of you, plus a lot of business owners and property owners around town. People, these are your stakeholders, okay? And then they come up with ideas. They present you with what they've hearing on the street, ideas for what to do with the downtown, what standards you want to put in place, that sort of stuff. Before you start building standards, they'll tell you what kind of an idea the people of this community have. And then you have this group together that will kind of direct, listen to them, work with them to design your standards and come up with a plan to take the city down a particular direction that everybody wants it to go. So that's what it is. The cost is about $25,000. I think I reported that last time. And that gets you from the assessment to a plan. So there it is. And he is about the only one that I found that is willing to come to a small town. They'll do your shopping center for you, the ones down, I bet, in Vegas. But they won't even come up to our shopping center. So they don't do cities. Most of them do private property development that I encountered. So that's where he's at, and again, I can try to answer any questions. He did give us quite a bit of information here as to it's he and his wife, and then he's got a team of graphic designers that can do some design elements of it for you as well. So.
Well, I know that we've talked at great length. We've been talking about it for a number of years now, on trying to come up with some sort of branding of our city, and I think we're right on the cusp of people seeing some change. And this is probably a good time to strike while the iron's hot to get an idea of what people are really thinking about what we're doing so far and what's happening in our community. So I'm really excited about having Mr. Brooks come to town and do this development assessment. I know that with all the information that our communities have done, the the DIG community and other groups that have been together, the Uptown Sunnyside Association, all the way back to Sunnyside Inc. So I think it's time we do this. But
I would agree with you, Madam Mayor. I was just commenting with my wife a little bit earlier today. I've just had the privilege now twice in the last couple of months to make a road trip back out to South Dakota, Iowa, Minnesota. Got back at 4 a.m. from my last one this morning. And one thing that I noticed, I did kind of a kitty corner run across South Dakota. I had a new grandson I had to go visit and meet. And so I had to throw that out there. Mm-hmm. But what I noticed is that, so everybody knows South Dakota is really big on hunting and fishing. Okay, I mean, hunting lodges, guided tours, fishing tours, all that kind of stuff, they're everywhere. But every little town from, Yankton, that is 14,000 people, to other little towns that are anywhere from 92 people to 600 people, they've all got an image. I mean, it's there. You come into the town and you know what it's about. If they're near the lake, they've got fish on their sign, and there's guided tours, and there's all the restaurants and hotels and the industry to support all of that, not to mention the fact that they're clean. And it looks nice coming into there. It's inviting to come into some of these towns, and these are off of little U.S. highways and that sort of thing. So running into Sunnyside, sometimes you come in there and we're kinda out there. We don't really know where we are. So it would be nice to get some focus. I think that we have to do that sooner rather than later. If we hesitate too long, the opportunity may pass us by.
I agree. Any other discussion? Any other thoughts?
Also, my only concern is the cost itself. It sounds like they have a plan. They do this for a living. I guess, do we have it in the budget to spend this amount of money at this time?
Madam Mayor.
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Guerrero, we did not obviously budget for this. We do have a revenue stream for it. We established in the business license, we did the economic development fee. So we do have a revenue stream to help pay for this.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that was which in the business license?
Correct. We increased our business license fees and attached a economic development fee to that list last year.
That's right.
I can't tell you what that amount is right now, but I know that we didn't spend it all last year. I think we established that in 2017.
And I do agree with Councilmember Boersma that we do need an image. I know it's something that's been brought up in the past, and I know from talking to different members of the community, they talked about a theme for buildings, and I think the old, well, I guess it's not Sprint now, but CenturyLink building, that was one of the themes that they talked about years in the past, and it's one of those things that you hear over and over, that there's elements like these happening, and then a year or two or 5, they just disappear. So there needs to be a way for us to keep this somehow alive, instead of 25,000 this year, 5 years later, nobody knows even about it. It's one of those things that we risk, obviously, and previous council has done the same thing. They've struggled with this, and I don't have a magic wand or to predict the future, but there's a way for us to somehow put it in a place that it makes future council members think about it, instead of them coming up with a different idea than we had, and it's just starting the basically the process over again down the road. So I don't know how to fix that or how to change that, but also we do need to start somewhere, and hopefully some of us are going to be here for a while longer, and we could say, this is what we did, 5 years ago. We just continue with that theme, and that's kind of my I guess 2 cents contribution to that, Mr. Rogers' assessment of the city.
Well, I think that, getting the assessment going, and then perhaps during that same time, one of the things that he talks about is having a committee of folks who are members of the property holders, the business holders, some of those key folks in the community. Maybe those people could be the beginning of a ongoing core retail area, to keep it going as far as economic development goes. I think there might be some other committees that are still available to us inside the community that maybe we could resurrect and have them be, help to carry on this, give it the extra push, because I know there are people who are interested. So that may be something that we can be working on as well,
right,
in addition to going through this particular assessment program. That's just a thought. Anybody else?
I would like to move to approve that for sure. We've been talking about it for a long time, and like you said, this is the opportunity to see what change we have done in our community. Vinny?
Okay.
Feedback.
So is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
So the motion is to contract with the Roger Brooks Retail Development Assessment Group Association to begin a work with local businesses and property owners and residents in the council to assess the downtown core retail at the cost of, we believe, $25,000.
That is correct.
Okay. That's seconded by Dean. Any further debate?
I just, it does say in here to assess the downtown core retail area, but I think Mr. Day said that they were going to do the whole town. Is that correct?
That is an option.
Oh, is it?
They recommend doing the entire city.
Is there a different cost for the whole city or the same amount? Okay.
Same amount.
Well, that's good. Okay. Any other debate? Questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. So, Mr. Manager, if you would take and make that so. Number one.
We'll get it done.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Moving on to, I believe we were going to do something with the Adopt a Planner program, but I understand there may be a,
We'd like to pull that
Pull
this
that
evening.
this evening.
My apologies, I was going to ask you that earlier and I forgot.
okay. Any objection to pulling that at this time? Carry over to the next meeting? Okay, so noted. Moving on to surplus vehicles, consider authorizing staff to declare the vehicles presented to be surplus and utilize the government surplus auction, sell the surplus vehicles to the highest bidders. Mr. City Manager, could you?
Madam Mayor, if I may turn the floor over to Mr. Fisher. He's been working on this project, and basically, we're just wanting to declare a number of vehicles surplus and go ahead and sell them at public auction.
That is correct. Thank you, Mr. Day, Mayor, members of council. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. These are all police vehicles. I think there's a couple of seizure vehicles in here also. They've gone through the process with the seizure vehicles. They do belong to the city, so we are able to surplus them. And as you look through the list here, most of these vehicles are 05s. There's a couple of 08s. I think there's a 2011 in here, I think. Basically, these cars you see from the mileage, high miles. Most police vehicles, they run pretty much all the time. Now, of course, with the new acquisition of vehicles, we've changed how they run. We used to run them 24/7, and this batch of cars you're seeing here is the result of that, running them 24/7. Now we don't hot seat them anymore. The vehicles get a chance to rest. So these vehicles have been driven hard. We have worked on them over the years. They've gone to a point where it just doesn't make sense to keep dumping money into them. So they are at the end of their useful life, and we'd like to surplus them, and then we'd like to use the government surplus website to upload these images, as you see here. And there's a process they have that you can upload them to a site. We'll put a reserve on them if you want, or you just leave them wide open and you sell them to the highest bidder. The Crown Vics you see in here more likely will end up being taxis in the larger cities. I think last time we surplus vehicles, people came with a car hauler from New York City, and they took 3 or 4 of the Crown Vics back to New York City and turned them into cabs. So that's what we'd like to do tonight with your blessing.
Okay. Any questions?
So are we able to guarantee that all these cars will be in running order when they're sold?
They will not be in running order when they're sold.
Okay.
They're an as-is, so.
Okay, because I know the 2 Crown Vics have been sitting behind the water
Yes.
department for how many years?
Yep, and they'll have those car haulers come in, and they'll load them up and drive them off, and these big CAD companies like that, I mean, they've got parts you can't even imagine. They get engine blocks and transmissions for a lot cheaper than we can get them, just because of the bulk that they buy them in. They take these vehicles, they pound out the dents, paint them yellow, put a new motor and transmission in it, and they'll get another 70, 80,000 miles out of them. So, yeah, they'll take them running or not. So, push, pull, or drag, I think they call it. So,
Get them out of here.
All right.
That sounds good.
I'll make a motion that we approve the surplus vehicles as presented.
We'll second that.
Okay, motion by Mr. Guerrero, seconded by Mr. Henry to authorize staff to declare vehicles as is to auction. Any further debate? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
So I also say yes. Motion carries. Get them, just load them up and get them gone.
Get 'em going.
All righty. Most of those vehicles are just about the style that I would normally be taking home, but except for the fact they don't run too good. All right. Item E, well number 13, repair replacement, Foremost Pump and Well Services. Authorize city manager to execute agreement with Foremost Pump and Well Services to extract submersible pump at 13 and assess the issues. Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, Council, if I may turn the floor over to Mr. Fisher. We have a problem with pump 13, and we have to pull it to find out what that problem is. That's it in a nutshell. But
we do. Thank you, Mr. Day. Yeah, so basically we started seeing some diminished pumping with the pump curves on that pump, and usually you see that after 15 years or so with the submersible being in there. This pump, as you guys know, is only less than 5 years old. And we started to see some of the diminishing pumping. Sometimes if you pump sand out of the aquifer, it'll sandblast your impeller, and so you'll see kind of you won't be able to pump as much as you originally did. So we started to kind of see that, which we thought was unusual. Then the pump basically just stopped working. Really, the only way we can assess what's wrong with it is we actually have to pull the pump out of the casing. It's about 450 feet deep. And so we pull it out. At that point, we'll be able to assess either we repair it or we replace it. So on your staff report, there's two prices on there. Actually, it's on the agreement also. This should be part of your packet. Foremost Pump give us a bid to repair it of $13,135.48. Or if we have to replace it, it's $40,185.48. Quite a difference there. But, replacing a submersible pump, $40,000 is about what they go for. So it's a good price, we feel. We, of course, went to our smaller trust. We got other bids. One of the other bids we got was about twice what this one is. So anyway, we've used Foremost Pump in the past. They're a great contractor. We feel very comfortable using them and know we'll get a good, they'll do a good job for us. So with that, I can answer any questions or comments.
So both of these, is that the one back here on the business park?
So what? Yeah, it's at Monson.
Well, yeah, okay.
Yep, Monson property.
It's the one at Monson?
Yes.
Doing 5 years, that's the newest one we've built, so, okay.
Yeah, and so and we're going to have a conversation. I've talked with HLA, and we're going to have a conversation with the manufacturer. We really shouldn't be having issues
Right.
with that. We really can't. I don't want to say anything yet. I mean, they're aware that we're going to pull the pump to see, but until we find out exactly what's wrong with it, I mean, if we sucked a bunch of sand and destroyed the seals and the impeller on that, it's not their fault. It's not our fault. That's just municipal wells. I mean, that happens sometimes. So, but if we pull it and we find there's obviously something mechanically happened or something gave way that shouldn't have, we should get at least 20 years out of the submersibles. We don't use it that often. We don't pump those. It's not on 24/7. So there really is no reason why that pump shouldn't still be operating. But we won't know that until we pull it and crack it and take a look at it.
Have you seen any sand in the water coming up, or?
Well, we have it on that one, and we have a little sight glass inside the well house, and it'll tell you it's got little increments on it. And we haven't seen any sand in there, but that doesn't mean we haven't. Sometimes those things won't pick up the sand. It just really depends. So we'll have to really take a look at it. Personally, I don't think it's sand. I think there's something mechanically wrong, but that's just my opinion.
So especially after such a short period of time, that just seems odd.
If it is sand, then what's the next step?
Well, we may have to put a sand pack on it. We may have to put a pack at the bottom of the well casing that basically filters the sand out. It's a medium they put down in there that just it keeps you from sucking the sand up into the impeller. Not cheap. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure what they cost, but if we have to go to that, we already have one well 11 or well 10A is what we call it. It's already has a sand pack on it, so it's a shallow well, and the aquifer we think inside is kind of sloughed off as you pump down, and then they recharge and discharge. Some of that sand on the sides will start to slough down to those aquifers, and then they end up down around your casing and your pump, and then you suck it up. So that's the only pump that we have that sucks a lot of sand. So we'll have to wait and see.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? I'm just, the money to pay for this comes out of the water fund?
Yes.
Okay. So what's the feeling of the council?
It's got to be fixed, right?
Yep.
Move to approve it.
So John Henry is making the motion to execute the agreement with Foremost Pumps and Well Services. Is there a second?
I second.
Okay. Any further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on to item F on our agenda, city manager recruitment. Discuss proposals received by the city manager recruitment. And it seems like I read one today, or read part of one today. Maybe it was this one, this SCR. So, Mr. City Manager, if you would.
Madam Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, we are looking for a new city manager, and you wanted to reach out to a professional recruiting company. I received responses from three. It would be SGR being one. This is the one that's in your packet. Colin Bensinger is another one. They're the ones you used 5 years ago when I went through the process. And Protham, okay? And I did not get the Protham and Bensinger responses as of when I sent this out to you today. So you have this one. They're relatively the same, okay? The cost is around $25,500. And this is what you're going to get. The last time, I don't know how you went about hiring Colin Bensinger. Okay, you're familiar with them. They're familiar with you. You are certainly, free to just hire them again. I feel that they did a good job for you last time. They're familiar with this community. I think that they would have they'd be up and running, I guess, so to speak, a little bit quicker than this company here is another one. SGR, I also believe you've used Protham in the past, if I remember correctly. And
for sure, would you be?
I know Colin Bishop we did, but I don't know about Protham. I don't remember that one.
Do you, Dean, at all?
I don't remember them at all either, so.
yeah, I believe Mr. Restucci is familiar with that, and he would have the information on Protham. But they did provide a response. They all said that they're very much interested in doing the job for you. So I guess tonight I just need to know what you want me to do. Do you want me to select one of these? Do you want me to bring them back later? How do you want to proceed? So.
I read through this agreement. I really like their service guarantee that they have in here. And it seems like they do a very thorough job from the sample that they provided in there.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'd seen the one from Colin's other one, and they're a professional company. They seem like they do this for a living, obviously, and that they know what they're doing. And
they provide the guarantee as well.
Right, and this one's 18 months. If whatever reason, they leave of their own, or whatever happens to them, they'll redo the process for free, basically.
And I believe Colin Bensinger, I could be mistaken, but it was 2 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I believe it was 2 years.
Madam Mayor?
Yes.
I know I was quite pleased with the process the last time I went through this. I thought they were a very easy company to work with. I thought they did an excellent job. So I guess at this point I'm still a little biased in their direction. I guess I'd like to read their proposal and just see where it differs. But
Is that something we can, that they're interested in sending us something to look at?
I was hoping I'd have it by this afternoon to present it to you, but I just didn't get them in time. So we can postpone this if you want to until the July 9th meeting, if that's what you'd like to do.
If we get those other proposals, I think they'll be good to compare apples to apples and obviously make a better decision at that point.
Is that agreeable with everyone?
Okay.
So let's do that then.
Very good.
Get those other ones, take a look at them, and go from there. Okay. We have at this point an executive session to discuss potential litigation pursuant to RCW 4230.11 and discuss collective bargaining agreement, Public Works pursuant to RCW 4230-144B. So action is expected on the second one, but not on the first one, and we'll be out for 30 minutes. So you'll be our timekeeper, right? Okay. All right. Whoops. Okay, calling the meeting back to order. I didn't write down the 54. Coming back in at 7:54. So we have before us action to take on the collective bargaining agreement for Public Works. Consider approving the resolution authorizing city manager to enter a collective bargaining agreement with Teamsters Local 760 Public Works. What is the council's wishes on this one?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion to approve by Mr. Boersma, seconded by Mr. Guerrero. Any debate? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. All right. And item I, we have the Washington Teamsters Trust Fund. Consider approving a resolution for payment of liquidated damage and interest fees to Washington State Teamsters Welfare Trust Fund. Mr. City Manager, could you explain?
Madam Mayor, Council, regrettably, I have some bad news. We were notified last week on the 21st. We received a letter from the trust that we had failed to make a couple of payments, or proper payments, I guess. And I hope you've got a copy of that. It came in late, so we didn't get this added until today. And the total penalties and interest on this thing, and it goes back to 2011 through June 30th of 2017. And we are looking into the, sorry about that. It was vibrating and I hit the wrong button. And this goes from, as I said, 2011 through June 20th, 2017. And we had delinquent fees, and the total is $15,536.93. And again, we received this letter from them, from their attorneys, and demanding payment. And so we felt we needed to get this for you. Their deadline, their imposed deadline is the 28th, I believe. Is that correct? And so that's where we're at. We do need to pay this. Elizabeth Alba has looked into this and feels it is correct. And for some reason, somehow, the calculations in Eden were not correct, and were not done on a timely manner or something like that. And they caught this through an audit, I understand. So that's where it's at. So and again, I can go into more detail if you'd like me to.
This is not the one that we sent payments and they sent it back to us because they thought we had overpaid, and this is a different one, is that correct?
This is a different one.
Okay.
This is no, it is the same. This is the same.
But, well, they sent us the money back if we
They
paid
sent
for
us
it.
some of the money back, and this thing's gone around and around and around, but I think that we can still work with this, but I just want to, this thing's just a mess. We've got to fix it. So, and Elizabeth's digging into this, and she can go into a little bit more detail if you'd like her to.
Please.
Yes, please.
Oh, Mayor and Council, I would entertain any questions you have on this, and I actually have brought my current files with me, and then I've brought the audit files as well.
So my first question would be is, obviously we did pay them at one point what we thought was the right amount, and they said, no, here's a check back because you paid us the wrong amount. From my recollection of a meeting we had a while back, was that the case?
So we did indeed have an audit, and they came through and looked at records from 2011 to 2017, and we received detailed audit reports showing what they believed were discrepancies or mistakes. And so I have all of those, and I've reviewed them. They did at one point give us a refund, and we had a refund from an overpayment on our account. And I was given information from the HR department that was part of the issue, that they had given us money back. And so in January, when I took over oversight of HR, I actually took the entire report and started working with current numbers, and I found that there were also credits on some accounts and other accounts with more than 1 month owing. And so I had a hard time trying to decipher exactly what was going on with the account in January. So I went through and reconciled it the best I could for January of 18, and got us to a clean starting point for February. So what I looked through and what I saw in the audit records that I have is, so the Teamsters agreement and the Teamsters Trust, one thing that's very important with them and hard to wrap your head around, but you have your hours worked. So I'm going to give you an example because I had to actually create a spreadsheet for myself so I could understand and wrap my head around it. So you have your hours worked, and I'll give you an example. So hours worked in May, the payment is due in June, and it covers the month of July. So you have 3 months that make you, right. And Julia's look on her face was exactly what happened to me in January when I took it over. I had such a hard time wrapping my head around that the hours worked in May, you pay for in June, but it's insurance coverage for July. And that is their trust rules. I actually found their rules. I found their trust agreement. I read it through, and that is exactly how you have to pay. So what the problem is, and what seems to have historically happened here, and the other part of the rule is if you work 80 hours or more in a month, we are on the hook for insurance. Whether we charge the employee for that insurance or not, the city has to put them on. So what I was looking at over the history of the audit and where the discrepancy seems to be is we weren't always following that rule for the entrance of employees and the exit of employees. So when somebody would onboard and they would have a start date and have 80 hours in any given month, we then immediately, even before they had a paycheck coming, would need to pay insurance on them so that they had coverage that second month. And so a lot of it was timing issues. And what the audit revealed to me was that we weren't necessarily always following their rules. So when they came in and audited us, they said, okay, Elizabeth, you started on May 16th. You had 80 hours, so you owed June 10th a payment for coverage in July. And I hadn't even received a paycheck yet because my first paycheck would have been June 10th. So it was this practice and these rules that needed to be followed. And in what I reviewed and everything that I went back and looked at from the audit period is times where people started, they weren't put on the insurance or weren't put in backdated to their start dates with that 80-hour start. So what I developed and what I've done for 2018 since I took it over, and I brought them for you to actually see, I created a little worksheet so that every single time it tells me the hours worked, the due date, and the coverage month. So that I'm making sure I capture any new employees or any exiting employees that have 80 hours or more in any worked hours in the worked month. So that was the confusion, I think, and the discrepancy for the remittance.
And this was something that was being done through the HR department.
That is correct.
So I don't know what kind of question I want to ask here, but that seems like if it was going back to 2011, shouldn't that have been caught sooner?
Well, apparently there is an audit that happens and they come in and they give you guidance, but there isn't necessarily a lot of guidance on how to do this. You have to read the rules, you have to interpret the rules, and then follow what you think is the rules. And so with me, I actually found the document that backed up how we're supposed to pay. I asked a lot of questions. I read over statements. I wanted to make sure that, and it did take me a little while to wrap my head around and get everything right. But if we follow the model I've built, we should be fine from now on.
Going forward.
Going forward, yes.
So I guess I'm still stuck with, so why did they send us a refund at one point, and now they're charging us all this interest and what they call it liquidated damages, and it's not a whole lot of attorney fees, but $9,000 worth of interest fees and $1,044 worth of liquidated damages. It seems like ridiculous that they're not charging us for this when we at one point we paid them, and now they said no, here's a refund because you overpaid us, and now never mind, you didn't pay us.
And what I'll tell you, what I've experienced in working with it's basically Northwest Administrators is who we work with, and they're the third-party billing for Teamsters. If I don't have my ducks in a row, Northwest administrators will make a mistake, and it's very easy for them to make mistakes. I will give you an example. This month, I paid via ACH on their website, and it was rejected by U.S. Bank because we have a filter that I have to tell them it's okay for a company to actually pull from our account. The filter was not in place. So I contacted Northwest administrators and said, I need you to double check if the payment has went through because I do not think it went through. U.S. Bank says it's rejected. They said, no, we did not get it. I said, okay, I'm going to authorize an ACH to you because I'm timely paying. I will not be late for us again. So then I resubmitted via ACH on 6/21 for this payment. I received an email this morning from Northwest Administrators representative saying I'd made 2 payments in June. And I said, please check your records. I have looked through every single bank record that I have for June. I've only paid you once. She wanted to write me a check to give me the money back. And I said, you proved to me that you received 2 payments because I am looking at every transaction in my banking records from June 1st through today, and I have 1 payment to you. So if I'm not on the ball, they can make a mistake as well. And then if they had decided to send me a check for that and then discovered the next month that, oh, wait, we did only get 1, now you owe us another check. I'm keeping copious records. And you can see by the writing I have on the bottom of my report, I'm keeping dates. I know what's going on. And I replied to her and said, you need to prove to me that you received 2 payments. And I said, here's my proof. Here's every debit transaction I have. Here's every transaction I have in those dollar amounts. I do not have 2 payments that have come out of my bank. So if you're not on the ball and you're not paying attention, they can make a mistake as well.
Swell. So then that leaves us on the hook for this 15,000?
The way I look at it, if we just continue to push this down the road, they will just increase the penalties and assessments.
Yeah.
And the way it looks to me, we owe the money for this. I believe that their audit was good. They came in and did a very comprehensive audit, and I believe that they did a good job. I've reviewed their work.
So my second question to that is then, is this money still in our account set aside for this particular trust fund?
What do you mean money in our account?
Well, every month we collect the Teamsters money somewhere, and we set it aside to pay going forward. So do we have enough to do this?
This will come out of the prospective departments. So what I will do is I will run a report by employee, and I will split this up by the number of employees in each department, and that will go to all, it'll be spread amongst all the funds.
Okay.
Do you recall the amount of the check that we got sent back from them?
I looked for it, and I have it in my office. I've looked for that check, and I've seen the information on it, but I haven't seen the backup. So I've seen it as a incoming.
What's the $5,223.55?
No.
No? Okay.
Darn.
Yeah, that's what the balance of contribution do. It shows everything else is penalties and fees. So just kind of crazy.
Might as well ask.
And I have a question about the interest, because, yeah, okay, balance of contributions due is $5,223.55, but our interest is $9,186.17. That's over 100% interest, if I'm understanding it right. So that's a lot of interest.
Yeah.
And they have the right to 20% of liquidated damages.
Which is under $1,000. But the interest, Mr. Bourne was bringing up a good point. So almost double the amount of what we still owe them, which is kind of crazy.
I really think at this point we have broken the trust agreement, and that is where they are holding us over on this. Because really, we have broken the trust agreement from 2011 to 2017 by not paying on time, by not having the correct amounts be remitted. That's really where this comes back to. If you go back and look at every single month as an individual basis, it goes back to not paying on time, not paying the correct amounts, not paying when someone is hired the correct month, not paying when someone leaves the correct month. So this is an ongoing from 2011 to 2017. So when you look at the damages, some of it goes back clear to 2011, and that's where they start calculating that interest.
Okay.
So I guess now that we know this is a situation, you have a Excel spreadsheet. Is there any way to get it into our payroll system so that way we don't miss it in the future if we ever get, obviously, into this bind again?
Actually, it is in our payroll system. It is a vendor payment. We created every 25th payroll. So it's a payment that's automatically created. It always would need to be reconciled by someone. Okay. So it is on. I took it over in January, and I said if I'm going to be in charge of this and be training someone, I want to know how it works before I set to training someone. So this really needs to fall under the payroll person because it's an accounts payable for payroll. We've got 3 really good months of getting it right. I'd like to have a couple more, and I started the training with our payroll clerk this last round. I want to have 2 more months of her and I working together to make sure we get it right. And then I will be passing it to her. And so what I've put in is I've put in a 2-fold check. So one person creates all the information, does all the work, the other person actually checks my work. So right now, she is checking my work and going through my reports and seeing if it makes sense and if it's all adding up. Okay. Once this has been passed down to payroll, then it'll still be a 2-fold where she does the work and then I check the work.
So is that oversight?
That's that oversight, right. Yes.
Well, as much as it chaps my hide, what is the decision of the council on this one?
I'll move to approve the resolution for payment to liquidate damages and interest fees to Washington Teamsters Welfare Trust Fund.
I will second that.
Second. Motion by Mr. Guerrero, seconded by Mr. Henry. Any further debate, questions? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes. Motion carries. Boogers. Unsolicited booger remark. Okay. Thank you for taking care of that, Ms. Alba. Okay. We have items from council members. I don't at this point have any appointments or commissions, although I understand we have some vacancies, and I do have a draft of how I'd like to move those forward, but I'll bring that forward at our next meeting. So I do have some questions about reports from the council members who serve on various boards like Drive and YBCOG and those things. So if some of you have some reports. You had a Drive meeting last week, I believe, wasn't it, Mr.?
That was me.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was Mr.
I'm the
Guerrero.
second on that one. So.
That's right.
Was,
I knew there was
It
some.
was a very interesting meeting, to be honest with you. I guess they have a few projects for Sunnyside, which was a hospital. They talked about the one, the mushroom farm, and they talked about another one. I think it was a whole port road going towards that section that they talked about in the future. They're going to have to expand because 200 plus employees going to Ostrom's is going to need, obviously, better or more roads, I guess. So that's what they were talking about. And it seemed like every community in the county had something in that Drive, I guess, wish list or help, or either it's partially funded or it needed funded. And most of it was a breakdown of different events. And I took my notes. I just forgot about the office. I didn't think about it, but it was a very informative meeting, and it wasn't very well attended, but we did have somebody from Brown Transportation. There was a few, I think 1 or 2 city managers and a couple of public works guys, somebody from Yakima County, DOT, and the facilitator from Drive, I guess. I'm not sure. Have you been to Shane to those meetings?
Yeah, it's been a couple of years.
Yeah, so it's interesting. They have a lot of, they asked me a couple of questions, like, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to have to answer them because, but I did talk, they did bring up the hospital, obviously, and how that's going to create a lot more, need for infrastructure in the area. The entities who are involved as far as DOT and the county, working together to get some of those projects done. They had a lot of projects on the list, and there was a few that they talked about. The downtown was one of them, and they said it was a partially, so I think maybe because we want to do it from 6th Street all the way to where we're at. And I think that's part of one of those things. And when they brought it up, they said it was partially completed and that there was a need for additional funding So that's the only thing I could think
That'd
of.
be on Sixth Street.
Yes, that's the STP project. We're almost done with the intersection project right now. That project was supposed to go from where the north limits of the downtown project where they're at Decatur. It's supposed to go all the way up to
The
North
sixth.
Avenue.
Oh, that's right, North Avenue.
Intersection, but we weren't eligible for funding until like 2022 or 2023. And so I got kind of a wild hair last year and decided, why can't we just do the intersection through TIB funding and not STP? And so that's why we did the intersection this year. We're able to kind of break that piece out and do it, because otherwise we'd have to wait to replace the signal
A
for
long time.
another 5 or 6 years. So
So
that's the reason why it still comes up as being, it's already designed, it's just not built.
right.
So we have no construction funding yet.
And it was great. I learned a lot from it. And then there was a couple people who were bringing up new projects. The airport was on there also. Our Sunnyside Airport was on there, and they were talking about Yakima Airport and expanding the terminal and a lot of good information. I'm looking forward to the next meeting and just kind of absorbing all that information in. But it was a good meeting altogether.
Awesome. Okay, thank you. Mr. Stremler, you're on the gang initiative, is that correct?
Correct.
Have you guys met recently?
They had a meeting last week, I think it was last week, no, first of the month, first Thursday of the month. I was unable to attend that one, and I would like to be able to attend the next one, which will be next week, before I have a report.
Okay, thank you. So you'll be giving us a report in the following,
Next regular
next
council
regular
meeting.
council meeting? Thank you. Okay, I had a notebook with everybody's name, what they were all on, and I don't know if we had you on.
I'm the second on the
on
gang.
him. Okay. Were you on another one at all? Do you remember?
Just that one, I believe.
Okay.
I could be wrong, though. I could be wrong. I believe that's what I volunteered
That's
for.
okay.
I
I have a
signed up
list.
for that.
Yeah. Mr.
check there.
Yeah. Mr. Boersma, do you have any meetings recently that you've
I have
attended?
not, no.
With the United, Sunnyside United?
Sunnyside
or-
United has met. I have been gone for almost 2 weeks, and so I have not been able to attend. So I could meet with the director of Sunnyside United and get some information back to you, but like I said, I only got back at 4 a.m. this morning, and so I
That's
haven't
correct. You
been
did say that.
able to do anything there.
I understand. I think you probably all saw that the Sunnyside United, working with one of the local churches there on Franklin, are going to be doing a cleanup this Saturday. And from 8 to 2 is
Something like that.
8 to 2 there. It's at 8:05, I think, Franklin. It's just kind of the street over from Grace Brethren. So they're doing some sort of a cleanup. So if anybody has things, they can sure take them there. I just saw that, so throw that in as part of your report there.
I happened to see that email when I was gone, but I saw that it went to everybody, so I didn't know that I needed to comment on it.
That's okay. I thought I'd just mention that. Let me see. I don't know if, so that's part of announcement. And of course, we have the employees potluck on Thursday evening at the Central Park. And we all have our assignment and our wristbandy gizmos, know what we're supposed to do. Is there any other announcements or questions from council?
We got an invitation to the work about movie night at the new building they're going to have, the Performing Arts Center.
All right.
And I believe it's this Saturday, if I'm not mistaken.
Should I
They
do
gave
that?
me a flyer, and I
Yeah,
put it in
I
the
saw
building.
that.
I just don't recall exactly if it's Friday or Saturday
I
night.
think I had it in my phone. I think it was Friday night also.
Yeah, I don't remember this exact night, but they're doing 30,000 in 30 days. They're trying to raise enough funds to obviously renovate the building, and they have a schedule of events that they dropped off as far as they're selling donuts, lemonade, and our yard sale, I believe, and they're selling pan dulce, I think, a different date. And they're doing a whole lot of different little events to try to obviously generate interest and motivate people to donate. And I think one of those movie nights was $5 for family, and they'll be selling obviously concession items such as popcorn. I would imagine they have a Krispy Kreme donut night or Krispy Kreme donut sale to pre-order on Facebook, if I remember correctly. And they're doing several different things, and obviously it's a good cause. It's going to be a nice building once it's all said and done. And I think it's worth mentioning.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anybody else? Anything? I just want to also, Mr. Rand from the audience had mentioned earlier about the Summer Ale Fest. I know several of us were down there and both enjoying and volunteering and helping out, and then enjoying some more. It was really well done this year. I really liked how they had the layout. They didn't have the vendors out in the middle of the street. Actually, they used that big lot there where the Fiesta restaurant used to be. And that turned in, I thought that just turned out to be really, really slick for the vendors, for the food, for the people. They had lots and lots of shade, which was really awesome, because it did get a little warm out there. Well, they only had one aid call, but that turned out to just be really minor. Turned out pretty nice. There was just a dehydration situation, and that everybody's okay, so that was good. But it was really good, and everybody got to see the skateboard park drawing and what that's going to look like. And I'm so very excited about that. They've just got. It's going to be beautiful. We just need to raise a whole mess of money. So we were telling everybody, this is what you're buying, so drink more. So, of course, then Mr. Hicks was on guard duty. So he was keeping a watch on them as they were going around. But it was a really fun event. So any other questions from council this evening? Okay, well, then let's go ahead and move to our request status report. We have on our agenda to have a July 2nd workshop, which is Monday next week. Golly, is that right? Holy moly, months are coming close together. And I don't know what we might have on there for any agenda items.
We don't have any items. I've moved for us to cancel the workshop.
I would support that.
Is there any other?
Unless Mr. Day has anything for the workshop.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Guerrero, the only thing I could possibly think of right now is bringing forward the recruiter. If you wanted to take
Okay.
some time to look at that as a meeting by itself, we could do that.
You think you'll have those by then?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe I'll have everything we're going to get by then.
In that case, I don't have a problem with meeting in that date.
Okay. Mr.
If we could keep it short, yeah.
Keep it short? Okay, so let's just put recruitment on there and keep it short. Okay. And then for the regular July 9th, amend the Sunnyside Municipal Code personnel policies. And we have here the city manager recruitment proposals. Is that to approve them?
No, ma'am, that would be brought forward to July 2nd, so that would be scratched off of the July 9th.
Okay, all right. And we'll probably have something else fall in there, so. And then for August, then we'll have our 23rd meeting, which we'll find something to put in there, I'm sure. Going forward, as far as our August 4th planning, we have the LTAC policy and our 5-year plan and a place to meet.
Yeah, maybe.
We're all going to
That was
just
about-
show up on
Madam
Saturday.
Mayor,
the
if I
4th.
may back up to July 9th, I will be bringing forward a lease option for the Monson property.
On the 9th?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I guess I should ask you if you had anything there you were going to do.
Well, I was going to put that on there, but
Well, it's good to know. All right, well, that's exciting. Property. Okay, do you have something for the 23rd I should know about?
23rd, that we, not right now, not off the
Okay.
top of my head.
Okay, so then we're still to be announced where we're going to meet then, I guess.
Yes.
Okay. All righty.
Madam Mayor, I did have something for B. I thought I was waiting for C or D here. Could I back up and just go to that real quick before we go to number 5? To B was other reports.
Oh,
Questions? I was
well,
waiting for D.
just a second. Is there anything else anyone can think of that we might want to talk about on the planning schedule? No? Okay. Then, Mr. Henry, you wanted to have something under reports?
I did. I wanted to direct the Planning Commission to review and make recommendation for council for creating the tiny housing project for Sunnyside. As of now, we know we have the ordinance for an 800 square foot house with a 400 foot attached garage, I believe. And I would like to have them look, review, and bring back recommendations to change that.
To change it or to add tiny houses as an option?
There we go. That sounds better. I think you have to
It's
change
your-
I
it's your
think you have to change
question
the
here.
ordinance to do that.
Huh?
I think you have to change the ordinance to do that, so.
But you'd have to also change some zoning, I would think, also.
That'd be correct.
That would be a planning
What you want to
commission
do is,
thing?
if you want to do that, you need to send it to Planning Commission to review and make recommendations. And
Okay.
then whatever zone changes, they would make a proposal for that. I don't know that there's any ordinance to change at this point, but
What's the minimum requirement to build a house in the city right at this point?
I think it's 800 square feet
800 feet.
and a 400 square foot garage
Okay.
attached.
Attached.
And when we're talking about a tiny house, how many square feet are we generally talking about?
3 or 4.
I was picturing about 450, yeah.
Okay,
They're actually they can go between 300 and 450 square feet or so.
okay, because my daughter lives in a 600 square foot apartment. I could not even imagine going smaller than that.
These are, well, consider living in a camper trailer.
No, I can do that for a weekend and then,
So you're talking, it could actually go less than 2,500 square feet,
450 was my studio apartment. And
250 square feet, excuse me.
Or my living room with all my daughter's furniture in it. So, plus mine. One of the things about the tiny houses that I think is becoming kind of an interesting thing is there's a lot more young people, single young people are looking at tiny houses. And then there are also quite a number of seniors who are looking at that because they're easier to take care of. So that's something we might want to take a look at for, I know of one person who asked me about, she wanted to put a tiny house on her property where she lives now, but I didn't think the zoning was proper for that sort of situation. So this is something that I think it's something to look at and certainly give another housing option in our community, so.
So one of the things that when I was in the planning commission, we regularly asked was we wanted to get some good guidance from council, and I guess every time I hear something we send to planning, I want to make sure they get good guidance. So I guess, Mr. Henry, what you're saying is we want them to look at options as far as what other communities are doing that we could emulate that makes sense as far as tiny houses and zoning changes potentially, that kind of stuff?
in my mind, I was picturing zoning, the 800 square foot ordinance being addressed, obviously, and in my mind, I was thinking they would come up with some sort of I don't know how to exactly say, but you can't just put like a tough shed. You have to have some sort of nicer from beginning
Plumbing and
Yeah, it has to have an ordinance. We have an ordinance that says it has to be followed by this,
Right.
by these rules, and because of these rules, we don't have dumpy small
Right.
sheds. That was kind of my idea.
Mr. Ferguson, just along those lines, I've heard that Yakima's been looking at some possibilities of tiny houses. Have you heard anything
Yeah,
about
we
how that's
our
going?
office has had to do quite a bit of research around these issues and materials, the processes. There's a really kind of model kind of community over in the Olympia, Lacey area. Sanitation is a big deal with regard to public work, access to public work stuff. So there's a lot of different, and then of course the zoning for planning purposes and all that stuff. So there's a lot of different factors that come to it, and fortunately we've spent a lot of time researching all these issues. So if our appearance at the Planning Commission could be helpful, please let us know, because we can dust off our file and make sure that most of the time what happens is that people use it as a kind of almost a 8-point plan. It's 1 point in an 8-point plan to kind of combat affordable housing. It's a big component of affordable housing because of all the houses are expensive to build from scratch. So and permanency and materials and all those other streets and all that stuff goes into it. But yeah, it's being done in a lot of places, and a lot of communities are finding it pretty helpful. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So I would think that if we were going to send this to the Planning Commission, as Mr. Guerrero said, I would think that we'd want to certainly take advantage of the existing information that's out there about tiny houses, and then also talk a bit, have them investigate what ordinances may be being used in other communities and kind of look into that. I would certainly think we'd want to before we send it to them, I think we better come up with a decent plan of how we want to address it, what we'd like them to look at, what we think they will need to look at. And certainly we want to use the expertise of other any other avenues. Yes, Mr.
And I would think
Boersma?
zoning would be a big part of that.
Yeah.
Because, there's places that are very suitable to that type of development, and there's other places probably less so. So be mindful of that.
Yeah. Can we, Mr. Henry, can we kind of put together some sort of a, kind of a guideline to send to the planning commission so they know exactly what we're looking for? And then give them some of these resources?
Well, of course,
Does that make
yeah,
sense
sounds
to you to
good,
do it
right?
that way, sir?
Madam Mayor, you could add that to the agenda for your workshop in July. It'll extend the period of time that you'll be here.
Okay, guys.
It's an important enough issue.
I think so.
Okay, well, let's do that then.
Okay.
Would you like us to attend to that on that meeting here?
I think so, if you would. And bring some of those materials with you, and possibly we can, yeah. I'm just wondering if it might be a good idea to invite the chairman of the planning commission to also attend the workshop meeting, is that,
I wouldn't.
okay. I'm okay with that, I just thought I'd ask. Just trying to be polite to everybody here.
Come to find out.
Yeah, okay, no, that's good. All right, so, okay, that'll be on our workshop. Okay, and then coming to, oh, we were supposed to do that the other ways around, but that's okay. I don't know that there's anything on our council request reports. Is that up there? Jackie, can you put that up there? I don't know that we're working on the retail, so we're going to get that going. And we're still waiting on a couple of these others. We'll have the downtown planners at our maybe our 23rd. Adopt a plan, and we'll be talking about animal control also at the August retreat. And we've been getting our reports, which we're happy to get. And those other things, I think, are... And I noticed in your report, Mr. Fisher, that you mentioned that you were looking for some grants for the senior center for the handicap.
Yeah, we've already applied.
Right,
Sorry, yeah, we've already applied for the ARP grant.
right.
We just haven't heard back yet.
Okay. And as I...
Back today and haven't heard anything.
I remember reading that it was sometime in July, so yes, okay. All right. Anything else, people, for that? No? Okay. Then we have upcoming council meetings, and we already discussed that, so I think we're jiggy with that. And we have items from city manager and department heads. Mr. City Manager.
Madam, if I may defer to my department heads first.
Thank you, Mr. Day. I just have one item. As you all are aware, we started the downtown project, the sidewalks. Still trying to get the public trained on, we moved the lanes over to the south a little bit, and it's been a little confusing. We've had a couple of near misses. This afternoon, we decided to put cones down the middle of the lanes. Hopefully that helps people understand to delineate those lanes.
Today.
So they started a little bit of demo. We did some asphalt cutting last week. They started demo this morning. They're finishing up a job, so we're not completely manned on this job yet. Probably won't be till Wednesday. But once Wednesday gets here, we'll have 6 guys on the project, and we'll start ripping all kinds of stuff up. So that's all I have.
Thank you.
I have a question for Mr. Fisher.
Yes.
This morning as I drove up Midvale Road, I noticed that well more than half of the streetlights are out. Is there a plan in place to get those working again?
Well, yeah, we've got budget to get those repaired. We did look at one time with LED lights, going through a program. I've since the paper off to PP&L to try to get part of it to get into that program. The unfortunate part about the Midvale lights is they're not a PP&L light; they're a Ventnor AA light. So there are certain lights in town. We will do the LEDs, but Midvale Road is going to basically just come right out of our back pocket. And there's only one electrician that we have local that's actually got a truck that can get to them. So I think we've got about 12 of them out right now. I have a meeting with him tomorrow, and we will be discussing those.
Okay. Those lights have been a big disappointment, haven't they?
Yes.
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 And if I may, you can expect at least $12,000
Yep.
to repair those 12 light
Good
street
Lord.
lights. They're not cheap.
Are we doing LED on those, or
Well,
I'm still doing the.
we might look into that. Again, this is one of those deals. We actually own those lights, and they're under Benton REA, and they're like 400 feet in the air, and you need NASA to get up there to it. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
We don't have any equipment that's high enough to get to it, and save the fire truck now. But we don't we want to be using the fire truck to change out light bulbs. But
just seems
they are
excessive.
very expensive, so that's something that we should look at, is just changing out the head and putting LEDs in there.
At least that way it'll stay on for, I guess, an extended period of time versus those gas-filled ones.
Well, let's put solar lights on them.
Well, then you can expect a lot more money.
This went from 12.
Okay.
I think LED will be a good
I
one.
think we'll do the LED.
Because
Yeah,
the
let's
LED
do
light.
that.
But again, Mr. Fisher's going to be discussing that with the electrician tomorrow.
Okay.
And we'll be able to get a little bit better idea of how much it would cost for an LED head versus the sodium light. I think that's what they are now, right? Yeah, high pressure sodium, yeah.
Okay. And
Well, not to be the bearer of bad news, but we have another audit that has been conducted by Northwest administrators, and I just wanted to give you a heads up. We have received a letter from them with audit results with additional monies that are owing, so I have not had a chance yet to dive into this audit. This one was a pension trust audit. So it's Western Conference of Teamsters Pension Trust. We just got the results from the audit, and I have them to review. As soon as I have a comprehensive review of that, I will be bringing forward the results of that as well. So I just wanted to give you a precursor of it. I don't want to wait until we get a letter from an attorney saying we now owe liquidated damages. That audit was completed, and we received the information on their letters dated June 14th. And we have 30 days to protest or basically contest their information. So I just wanted to make sure that council is aware of that. And once I have that audit and understanding of what they're charging us, I will give you the results of that.
thank you, Ms. Abel.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to give you an update on the Grandview ambulance service. I did go down to the City of Grandview Council and discuss that with them. I believe they would truly like us to do this. Our new chief, Mr. Anderson, has come on board now. Bill Harris has looked at this as well. They believe that we can do this. It will require some additional manpower at some point. We're still waiting for them to determine what level of service they want, but it looks to me like they're going to be wanting pretty close to 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're willing to pay for that. Astria Hospital is also agreeing to help foot the bill, so to speak. Astria already helps us, pays us some money to provide ambulance services for them for non-emergency transports, and they're willing to put additional monies on the table to ensure that that if we do this, that it will work for us, that we won't be losing money doing this. So we'll be bringing you additional information. When we get to the point, the next step will probably be do an ILA, and I believe I already discussed that with Mr. Ferguson, to start drafting up an ILA between the City of Grandview and the City of Sunnyside for us to provide ambulance and some fire protection services. The model that they're looking at, last time I spoke with them, was to have firefighters/paramedics down in Grandview to work at their fire station, similar to what they do here, rather than just an ambulance crew. They would actually be able to assist them with maintenance on their fire apparatus and their building, and similar to what our guys do here right now. So that's kind of the model we're looking at. We're still going to be crunching some numbers to making sure that it'll work for both sides. Quite frankly, I think it's a win-win. And as I've said in the past, this is the wave of the future for small towns and communities to survive. You've got to get away from the "this is mine" attitude. Back in the 40s and 50s, we had operators in every town, and we had a dispatcher in every police department. And if you wanted the police, you'd call the police officer, and they'd call the officer that might be on call or whatever, well, those days are just plumb gone, okay? And the way for us in the future is for us to centralize our dispatch, regionalize it, and work as a team. And that's one of the things we're dealing with Toppenish for the dispatch and the ambulance service. This is something that we do very, very well, and we are renowned for it. And I think that we can provide a much better service to the citizens of Grandview as well, and enhance our own ability for our citizens. So I'll be bringing you more information on that as we go further on there. I wanted to invite you to the picnic. Thank you very much for reminding me that. This is this Thursday at 6 to 8, I think is what it is? 6 to 10. Thank you. There is swimming for those of you that want to, show us your diving skills. We will have paramedics and lifeguards available for those of us that exceed our capabilities.
Oh, God.
And I will be going on vacation to take my grandchildren back down to their parents from July 10th through the 22nd. So I won't be missing a council meeting. But I'll be leaving Tuesday morning after the council meeting. So that's all I have.
Can I ask a question on the fire department?
Absolutely.
How many people would we have stationed at Grandview? What do you foresee for that?
I'm expecting to build it out. We would probably have 6. I think that we can
Per
use
shift or
no.
total?
It'll be 2 per shift.
The reason I ask is if that's what we base it on, that's okay, but there's a lot of times that more respond. Like when I had my heart attack, they came with 5 of them, and they end up leaving some vehicles behind. I could see where there'd be quite a few times that we'd end up sending an ambulance and possibly more people from Sunnyside to Grandview. Would we get reimbursed for that?
Actually, what they will do is they have EMTs on their fire department right now. They will still maintain their volunteer service, and they will respond to assist us. One of the things that we're looking at is for us to put one full-time paramedic with one of their employees or one of their volunteers, okay? And then others from their volunteer fire department would respond.
I agree. We got some of the best around, and I can see where they'd want our services, but at the same time, we can't afford to give our services away
That's absolutely
either.
correct.
Yeah.
I won't do that either. We're not going to spend our money to provide their services. That's correct.
That's why if we can cover, if we have to send more people,
No, that's absolutely correct.
that we can get reimbursed for that.
Is there anything else?
That's all I have.
I do want to just make one more, something I should have said under councils. I attended the grand opening of a new business over on Lincoln Avenue, and was called up to say a few words at that occasion for Sylvia's professional tax services. And I just wanted to thank her and say publicly here that what a tremendous reinvestment into the community that woman has made with her services. It's a really fine building. It's went through all the codes and all the other stuff. It's just really nicely done, and I'm just very pleased with the reinvestment in our community. It's a really good sign of that. So there's nothing further to come before the meeting. Without objection, we'll be adjourned.